Hello and welcome to the part 6 of this tutorial. Now, as you see here, I'm not going to work on details pretty much right now. As we know, here we will add the USB ports, but as I said, I'm not going to bother with details pretty much, but if I believe I feel that it has like a curvature when I add my turbo smooth, so I can easily deplete this curvature effect by adding some more loops there and one in here. I will add one loop in here, and this will bring more sharpness to our USB frame that we got right here. Now that we have symmetry for one side of our mesh, I will be adding the other symmetry to have the other half of the model by this. Just tweak a little bit. I think it's good. And the missing part, I will just go to the edit poly and just bring some edges or vertices and to just match them with each other. Yes. And just like this, we have the overall blockout of one side. And I believe that now I can just copy an instance, set it to instance, and just rotate 90 degrees to be visible in the front view. And so I will add another edit poly on top of my symmetry and then move vertices to about here. And just before, I want to exactly see the reference image as I'm modeling, so I can both enable my translucent material or use Alt-X short key, but I prefer to use the material here. And you remember the edges that we added to our mesh to maintain our geometry for the plug frames, right? And now, if you see, they are being extended all the way up, and I have to actually cut them down. And I have to basically remove most of these except the one in the exact middle. So I go back to where I just started and I go to the edit poly, which I added the edges, and then I will select now these edges that I want to adjust and change by double clicking, and I start to deselect those parts that I don't want. And as you can see, I do not need these edges to be extended from right there. I want to both keep smoothness and sharpness that I did for the plug frames and just delete those extended edges not to interfere with what I want to do for front side of our model, which we are going to create in a minute. And I think this should be good. And now let's go back to where we were after applying the symmetry modifiers. But now, as I'm seeing, we have to also delete these ones on the top because, well, our main problem were these on the top ones. Now it's good. I can actually delete these ones, and let's just select them just like before and deselect those parts that we need, and so control remove them. So let's check if it's all good, especially on the top one. Oh yeah, let's select these on the top and control remove, and it's now right and clear. And now in the front side, you can clearly see that why I have done this. Let me adjust the mesh. As you might have guessed, I'm going to use the Ngon workflow. First, let me add an edit poly and adjust as we want, and then go as usual and select the Ngon, which has 8 sides. Be sure that it's going to be 8 sides. And then to be exactly in the symmetry, I'm going to create an edge loop in the middle using the connect tool right here, one in the middle. And I'm going to just use my snap tool, snap it into place, and start to pick up my cut tool and cut the geometry on the mesh as we've done in the past videos, just like this. And then now I can just peacefully delete our reference Ngon. And after that, let me change my view to orthographic, and now I can just cut our floating vertices to the corners, but I think there's a problem. It has to make the Ngon a little bit bigger than the original shape because, well, of the safe loop that we talked about. And now start to cut the geometry, cut the vertices to the corners, and this one and the final one like this. Pick up the cut tool again. So everything seems all right. I'll have my material back to the Hardsruface because, well, we're going to adjust our topology. So now I should inset, but to see actually behind what's going on, I'm going to just show you the reference. We have a bigger circle outline and the one smaller light bar there. And you remember I told you about Alt X also shows a kind of translucency. I'm going to use that and do the inset on the inside, and then inset for the little light bar that we have, undo and eyeball the outer one more time, and continue to create this light bar thing. And then I will select these round edges, and I basically want to chamfer them to be able to extrude them. But first, let me change to editable poly again, and then I will apply my chamfer and tweak it until I'm satisfied with it. I think this is enough. I hit apply, and now I select the faces that are inside the two edges with ring select, and then I will control polygon. Let me do it again. Control polygon, extrude it till here, and let us see the turbo smooth. As you can see, we have both the circles and the holes, and now it's time to do the process of sharpening again. And I'm not going to select actually the last one because I need it to be more, you see, I need it to be more preserved with curvature it already has. I turn on the chamfer, and that's right. The decent sharpness on the outside and also the curved light bar that we have right here. So it's looking great up until now, I believe. And now I will select the top edge and actually extrude to create the rest of our model, the main body part. And here I will actually extrude another time, just like this, and we'll finish it off using with more extrusion in the end and cap it to be more clear. You see the cap here. Now there's the cap, right? So let me orbit around to a fixed position, and for this instance I'm going to actually use inset because, as you will see right now, let me rotate here, I will be having some minor issues here. I now have to manually just grab the vertex and bring it a little bit to the position where I want and adjust it a little bit further. Basically, I'm going to use these set of operations now, inset and also bevel here, as I'm going to do, and change and just move it up to maintain the cap that I want. Right, just like this. And now I have to basically select these vertices and connect them together for the geometry to be correct, for the topology to be correct. But for this instance, I don't necessarily think the connect command will do any good. And yeah, I have to pick cut command and manually cut the vertices one by one to themselves to maintain the edge flow, just like this. And then I will want to do another bevel. Actually, bevel does both extrude and inset, so that I can move it inside. And then let me find chamfer. I want to apply another chamfer to maintain this sharp edge on here. Also, I forgot the outer edge. I also select that and apply a little chamfer to that part, and I apply turbo smoothing. You see how sharp it is and how well it's responding to the light. Turbo smooth, okay. Now, if you noticed, there are two cracks or little details across the main body of our prop here, and there's one exactly over here. I'm hovering over it, and then I will extrude to the inner side and adjust it a little bit further, and to create a curved profile of our detail, I will add a chamfer, and I did the extrusion a little bit more than the original shape because the chamfer modifier will actually be the opposite of extrusion. It will cancel the sharpness as you increase it. You see, the more you increase the chamfer, the smoother it gets. And now I will apply our preserving chamfers to preserve the sharpness there. And also, you see, from the bottom that here is the other detail we gotta make, but I'm not going to risk my safe margin on that. I'm actually going to be putting it downwards and then pick up a fresh edge loop to model it. And you know, if I do that, just model with the safe loop, it will break our geometry. So I'm going to be repeating the same process, extrude it a little bit further than usual, and then select the edges by double clicking and apply the final little chamfer, preserving the overall sharpness of the original chamfer I applied. And as you can see, we have modeled this on point where corresponds with reference, and about the USBs, I have to, as I said, use rectangle and just like this, and bring it to the right side. I play with this corner curvature, especially now with corner radius. I put the steps to 0. This way we can both keep everything sharp, or as we want, we can apply the chamfer effect as we desire. But now I'm going to actually be using the Swift modifier with sharp profile to actually create the inner USB plug. And now I'm going to just tweak the parameters or the properties of the Swift modifier. I can just apply some changes in the width till I'm happy about it, and I can change the width of the sweep, or now let me adjust the position, or I can increase its length to see what it's like this way. And now I uncheck the smooth and edit poly, and I want to select the diagonal lines with double click and hit chamfer modifier, decrease it till it's looking good. And let me real quick apply the hard surface material, and I'm going to select the outline edges and again do a little chamfer. I need them to be sharp and like this. So now I can easily select the vertices I want and adjust them the way as I like, move them all around till it's completely steady in the piece. Now if you want to make the outer USB frame that we modeled before, you can select this corner edges. Now let me deselect the unnecessary ones and hit connect, and I will show you how exactly it would make the difference in Turbo Smooth. As I move it closer, you see how it will gain more sharpness. Like this, I can, make it sharpen as I want, and it's going to be same on the other side. I can just add another loop on the other side and can limit curvature there by moving the added edge closer to the corners. So just like this, and you see how basically we have sharpened the corner for this part. At this point, it's all bound to your choices. You can go ahead and continue tweaking stuff as you like. Now, to make things even on both the upper sides and the bottom sides of the USB frame, I'm going to repeat the process and actually add this corner edge one by one. Just notice that when you repeat the same command, same modifier, for example here, the case will be chamfer, it will actually save or remember the last operation and affect the same on all the sides that you apply on. So I think it's good. Just simple moving on the top and then to the left. Or for example, scale these edges to inside. I think it's good overall, except that it misses the actual piece inside the plug, and for that I use a chamfer box to be able to change its parameters right away. Let me quickly assign the material on that and move it to the place of interest, and then, give it somehow kind of fillet effect and play with the shape and reduce the height of our piece here. And then I can just copy 2 more times and reduce their proportions to the right place so we can use them as the 2 little pieces up here. I need to, it's a little bit too much. I reduce its length, and I can even, let me change to orthographic. I believe I can further scale it down a little bit, and I scale it a little bit down, and then I just copy it to the other side like this and apply a different material, brighter one, to this piece right there. And I select the whole piece and I will group everything here together to be able to copy with ease for more times to finish with this part. Now pay attention that if I turn on Turbo Smooth, you see it's somehow being distorted. If I just zoom in, you see how it's being distorted, especially on the bottom side. It is because of the floating vertices that we have. Now, there is a point that we have added some edges besides our corners that we have, and we no longer need these edges to be here. In the first place, added those edges and added those vertices to maintain balance between the geometry, but now we do not need them. And after that, I will just give it another symmetry in the y-axis and with a low threshold. And I adjust it a little bit further like this. And I think it's enough for this session.